Tanner Lee here, the Tan and J-Man Show, and I'm very excited to have with me a good friend of mine, Rochester native and 25-year vet on the PGA Tour, Chris Smith. Chris, thanks for joining me.
Nice to be here. Yeah. Thanks for having me into the studio.
Into the orange Broncos room.
Yeah, I'm not looking at that. Not looking at that.
But I've been looking forward to this. This is something I've been trying to get scheduled with you for a while. I've been kind of promising some of our viewers and listeners that we're gonna get you on. So now we're making it happen.
Yeah, you're busier than I am. It's taken this long because you're much busier than I am.
I don't think that's right.
It's probably true.
You got some exciting things going on that we're going to hit on throughout the interview. But I spoke in the intro that you're a Rochester native.
I am.
What was it like growing up in Rochester, Indiana?
It obviously was great. I love Rochester, Indiana. I love Indiana as a whole. I've been in Peru since '96. But my roots are in Rochester, and they always have been. It was fun for me because I grew up in the small town. I played golf at the Rochester Elks, which was basically at this point, I understand it's a pitch and putt. And pretty much. And back in the day, the round barn was the Rochester Muni. It was a 9-hole course. There was not a driving range in the entire town. And that's all I knew. And I spent a bunch of time on the lake. Every day I would go play golf. I would take about an hour and a half break, go out and ski with my friends, enjoy the lake. Saw the same people at obviously church every Sunday, at the grocery store, gas station. I get on my bicycle, and we lived on the lake. I get on my bicycle and ride in town and not come home for 9 hours, and it was always fine. Yeah. So I'm incredibly thankful for the childhood that Rochester gave me.
I'm glad you mentioned that you grew up playing golf at the Elks. Who got you started in golf? I'm assuming it was your dad.
It was Dad, 100%. And really, I think I'm not really sure anybody really wanted me to play golf, but at that point, I have two brothers that are 6 and 7 years older than I am. So at that point, they needed the fourth. And so, I was just a little kid. They started taking me to the golf course when I was 3 years old. Yeah. And it was just, I was the fourth. They needed a fourth to fill out the foursome. So Dad played football at Butler. And
did he really? I did not know that.
He did. Oh. And there were some things that happened. He didn't make it all 4 years at Butler, ended up at IU and got his degree at IU.
Okay.
But yes, he played football at Butler, into sports, athletics, the whole thing. And the story goes, which it was before I was born, that he wanted a sport that he could do with his children. And he loved golf, and his dad loved golf, and his father-in-law loved golf. He started playing golf, and I never knew any different.
You fell in love with it pretty much from the beginning?
I did.
Did it take some time? Or
no, I did. 100%. I was drawn to it from the start, and I knew it ultimately. That was from a very young age. Mom would drop me off at the Elks, and I was 8 years old, and she'd come pick me up in 4 hours. And I'd spend the 4 hours acting like I was playing in the Masters in the U.S. Open and doing the whole thing. If there's a little cart path over there on the right of number 9 at the Elks, and it went into the cart barn. And if you had any idea how many times I positioned myself somewhere around that cart path on the right of number 9 at the Elks and tried to hit a shot because I had to get it up and down to win the Masters, it would blow your mind.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's true. But I knew that was just kind of in the back of my head the whole time. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I knew that I didn't know necessarily at that point if I really had a gift or not, but I knew I loved it. But Dad and having older brothers, it was nice because I still had a love for other sports too. We'd play tennis all the time, basketball. We'd have baseball games in the yard. I played football through high school. I loved all that stuff. I loved the team aspect of that stuff because when I went to the golf course, it was, it's me and Chris Carpenter is the pitch for the Cardinals is one of my best friends. And he talks about all the time. He's like, when I was pitching, I could go to the mound and not have my best stuff. And I've got, a team behind me that
True.
is going to make me look good. And on the golf course, when you go play golf, you don't have a team that's going to make you look good. You're either good or you're not. So it was fun for me to get the break with the other sports and have teammates and a teammate atmosphere and a locker room and, multiple coaches. And so I always really enjoyed that growing up, the Little League baseball. I mean, the whole thing, I did it all here in Rochester, and I loved it, but I knew that at some point I was going to end up trying my luck at golf.
Yeah. And it probably didn't hurt that your older brothers, Terry and Todd, were successful golfers themselves.
Not nearly as good as me.
No, absolutely not. Of course not.
Yeah, they were. they kind of burned the path. They won a state championship here at Rochester. 1980, no classes. Hit Little Rochester, went to the state championship, dominated. My brother Todd won an individual championship. They both went and played at Auburn in the SEC. So, I mean, yes, they did. They did burn a path.
Yeah, they still have a picture up in the Rochester gymnasium for them.
Yeah. Do I have one?
Oh, you have a picture there.
Oh,
too.
perfect. Yeah. Okay, well, then I'm okay with that.
I gotta say, I haven't been in the hallway for a while, or I haven't been into the building for a while. But last time I knew, yours was one of 5 different ones individually in the hallway.
Probably not allowed in the building at this point, right? I mean, not because of you. You took that the wrong way. With the COVID thing, you can't go in the building.
Not. I haven't tried.
I haven't been in either. I will tell you, I won the state championship too my sophomore year, and I got a lifetime pass for myself and a guest to any Rochester sporting event.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and it's a little laminated thing from 1985. I'll dig it up sometime and show it to you. It's pretty cool. Yeah, cool. I mean, I carried it around a long time. I was living in Ohio for 9 years. I mean, I carried it around for a long time. It's beat up. It looks like I've gone to a lot of Rochester events, but I haven't. But I still enjoy. It's just it's where I became a person.
Yeah, and I'm glad you spoke of 1985. That was one of my talking points I want to get to. What was it like to win a state title in golf? I mean, that's a pretty cool accomplishment.
Well, I mean, really, the simplest answer is it. When I did win, it was on to the next thing because I still at this point, I've spent my whole life chasing my brothers down, right? So, I saw them win a state championship in 1980 and I was in whatever, I was a sophomore in 85. So do the math, whatever. I was in sixth grade.
Yeah.
And went and watched them play and they won. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, if they won the state championship, then I'm also going to have to win the state championship.
Yeah.
And so
can't let them one up.
It's just right. I mean, I was driving home. I was riding home from Old Oakland and my parents, I mean, this is a different day and age, obviously, but John and Rob Sawyer, my 2 cousins, were on that team also. And their aunt Cynthia, was down watching. And my cousin Craig, who was my age, he and I were put in charge of decorating all the cars in the Old Oakland parking lot. And we did all that stuff. And then Cynthia drove us home because then they get home and they get on the fire truck and they drive through town. Now, mind you, I'm a 6th grader, right? So, but I remember all this very clearly. Yeah. And so Craig and I painted the cars. I remember driving home from Indianapolis, and before we got back to Rochester, I was like, okay, like those guys did it. That moment, it came something into my head that was like, I got to figure out how I'm going to do that because I'm going to do whatever they did and do it better. And so when I won, it was super happy. My mom, I hit a shot on 16, 3-iron over the trees. My mom will still tell you, I can still see the shot coming off my club. I'm a sophomore in high school and now I'm an old man, but I can still see the shot coming off my club. I can still feel the warm up I had that day on the range. Like it's very clear. And it was a very happy moment. And it was a huge accomplishment, something that I really wanted to do. But then after I did, I was like, okay, they did that. I just have done that. My brother Todd was a good college player, so now I got to figure out how I'm going to be a good college player. So it's on to the next thing.
Of course, I'm sure you wanted to win another state title.
I did.
That leads me to your senior year.
Yeah.
You had the lead after day 1.
Yeah.
What happened day 2? I hate to bring up bad memories, but
it was fine. I didn't putt very good.
Yeah.
And we'd changed venues. Now we're playing at Prestwick. and it was the first year at Prestwick. I didn't really like the golf course. Kokomo had the best team in the state. Kokomo, I think, ended up winning the state championship that year. I think Rochester missed the first day cut. And so I was playing the second day as an individual. I don't remember it as well because I didn't win, but I remember plenty about it. And I remember Chris Williamson won. And I remember, which, I mean, nobody has any idea who that is, but he was a good player at Kokomo. But I remember with like 3 or 4 holes left, I had a shot and I hit a bad shot on 17. I remember I hit a bad shot on 17. I ended up making, I think, a bogey on 17. I had a bad drive on 18, hit a good shot on 18, missed the putt. And I think I won, or I mean, I think I lost by 2 or 3 shots.
Yeah.
And it was fine. I mean, I was already set with Ohio State. I was proud of what I'd done. I'd won a couple state juniors. And it just didn't work out. And it was probably a good lesson, to be honest, that I learned early that this golf thing, there are a whole lot more failures than there are successes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a learning thing. I was happy. I was proud. I have the medal in you've seen it in my trophy case at home. Super proud of it, but it didn't work out.
Now, did you make state your junior year as well?
I did.
Okay.
Yep, I played all 4 years. I was all state all 4 years.
Okay.
So I mean, there were a lot of good things going on, and my dad did a really good job of getting me access I needed to be as good as I could be, helping me with whatever I wanted to do, pushing me the right amount without ever burning
you out.
Yeah. And as you know, Dad and I would go over. And we've talked about this before. The golf season's in the spring. Dad and I would go over to the Elks. We don't have a range. So school would start. I'd have to be at school at 8 o'clock, which I was always pushing it. And they never really counted me tardy, which
was nice.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Eller. And Mr. Orv Huffman. I mean, thank you, boys.
Yep.
But anyway, I would go over there in the morning. And Dad would go over and we'd go over to the golf course at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I would stand there and fire pellets for an hour and 20 minutes. And we'd get in the car and we'd beeline home, and Mom would have breakfast ready. I'd go up, take a quick shower, come down, eat breakfast, and I'd go screeching into the high school at 8 o'clock. But anytime I wanted to do that, which during the fall, we didn't do as much because I was playing football, but during the spring I did that. I would say the only time I didn't do that is if I had something else like that needed my attention that morning.
Mm-hmm.
But even if we had a match that night, I would still get up every day and I'd go at balls with Dad, and Dad would go stand out. I'd hit 7 irons and Dad would go stand out 170 yards away. And he had seen me swing so much that he would stand in the distance. I would, hit the shots, no commentary. My dog would sit next to the pile of balls, and he would just sit there and wait for me to be done. And Dad would catch each one as I hit it. And then when we got in the car and we drove home to have breakfast, Dad would say, okay, your hips aren't working right. Your legs aren't moving fast enough. You're over the top, whatever it was. He could stand out 170 yards and knew.
Incredible.
And so I'd take a shower. I'd have breakfast. I'd go to school. The whole day at school, in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, if I'm over the top, I got to figure out, I got to get my lower body moving a little faster on me. And then I would go to practice and play golf until dark that night. And so we did that every day.
Would you say, when did you figure out, okay, I might have a special talent. I might be able to do something.
Well, my mom was telling me that when I was like 3. So
yeah, moms know best, right?
Yeah. So I was like, okay, whatever, Mom. I don't know. I early on, probably I knew when I have my first handicap card that I've kept. I still have it at the house, and I was 13 years old, and it was at the Elks, and I was 13 years old, and my handicap was 1. So, I'll show you that sometime too. I still have that handicap card.
To a guy whose lowest is 7.
And so, I knew, I enjoyed it. I knew it came to me. I knew that I understood how to play the game. And it's always worked.
But you mentioned playing football. A lot of our listeners and viewers might not know you were the starting quarterback for the Rochester Zebras.
Oh yeah, number
on top of
15.
golfing.
Number 15 on the jersey, number 1 in the heart.
Yeah. 15 on the hat there, which
Yeah.
we'll talk about in a little bit.
I loved football. Mark Miller was the coach. Steve Copeland was I was a quarterback. He was a quarterback's coach. Bob Brash on the defensive side. I was a defensive back coach. Mr. Brash was Dave Apt was on the coaching squad. I loved the football thing. In all honesty, in high school, take this in the right way. I probably enjoyed football more than I did golf because it was this window from August the 1st until, I don't know, we beat Tippy Valley in the sectional for the first time ever. Big day.
Nice plug there.
Yeah, I hate the Valley Vikings. But anyway, when the two-a-days would start at the start of August before school starts, hot. You know, my granddad lived right down the road from here, and he has a swimming pool, and we'd have two-a-days. I'd ride my bike in town for practice. Even though I had my license, I'd ride my bike in. I'd ride to my granddad's swimming pool, swim for an hour, go back to two-a-days. Like, I loved it. I loved the whole thing. That the guys on the team ended up being friends of mine, and none of them, not a one. Well, Alfie Bazo, who is,
I work with him.
Yeah, who is still in town. Alfie played football for a short time until he got tatered. You should have asked him about it.
I will now.
They took him out in an ambulance, and I feel like it might have been at the Peru game, and it was like, I think when we were freshmen, but he was out.
I knew him as a tennis player. I know he played tennis. So.
Yeah. Well, that was the end of the football.
I'm asking him tomorrow.
Yeah, ask him, because they took him off on a stretcher, put in an ambulance. His mom, which we all love Ann too. His mom, I'll never forget it. His mom and dad were down on the field, and it was just like, is he gonna? And he's not moving, and it's just like, is he gonna live? He was fine. I mean, he had a little neck thing or something. I'm
definitely asking about that.
That was the end of his football career.
I had no idea.
But the end of my basketball career was Rick Fox at Warsaw. So I mean, there's always these ends to these careers, and that was Alfie's. Which, who knows? He'll be Alfie to me. Did he still go by Alfie? AJ.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't. AJ's golf spot used to be a hot place here in town.
I remember I was very small when it was still open, but I remember going out there off 31.
That was a hot spot too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with the exception of him, all those guys I spent time with in football, I wasn't going to play another sport with them.
Sure.
And so I just loved the whole thing about it.
Kind of build some camaraderie. I cannot say the word.
Camaraderie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You should be hosting this.
Oh, no.
Kind of built that with them during that season. And then that's special.
Yeah, it's great. And you know, some of those guys, upperclassmen, underclassmen, through the years of doing it and being with those guys, some of those guys I never would have had a chance to get to know, but then all of a sudden you spend 3 months with them and you get to know them really well, and it's like it just added to I think it added to me as a person. I think it helped my golfing career. I think the whole thing was good.
So, and then you went on to Ohio State,
Buckeyes,
the Ohio State University.
Oh no, you're fine. We don't have to.
That's okay. That's all right. Why Ohio State?
Well, I mean, I had a long story, and I know we're kind of on a time frame here, but long story. So
we got time.
I was a first team All-American when I was in high school, national All-American. And so I was fortunate. I was one of the top 2 or 3 ranked golfers in my class. And so I was being recruited every place. And so my brothers had both gone to Auburn. So I had to take the trip to Auburn. Tennessee was a very good school, and Jim Gallagher from Indiana had gone to Tennessee. So I felt like I had to take that trip. Georgia Tech was also a very good golf school at the time, and Puggy Blackman was the coach.
You and Duvall could have been teammates.
Yeah. Charlie Reimer, it would have been a really messed up team we were on. But so and Dad knew Puggy through all the stuff with golf. And so I had to take that trip. Well, then Oklahoma State was the #1 team in the country. And everybody wanted to go to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State wanted me to come, so I had to take that trip. And then Ohio State had been recruiting me for a long time. So long story short, interesting story. So I go to Auburn for the visit, and it's during basketball season, and I'm a junior in high school. and I'm making my decision in the spring. I'm a junior in high school. I'm sitting there with the golf coach in the stands at the basketball game, and it's like halfway through the first half, and they make the announcement over the intercom. All right, students and fans, here is the ticket for the halftime shot. So I'm sitting there. They announced the winning ticket. I'm not paying attention. I'm just taking the whole thing in, right? And so the golf coach nudges me, and he's like, "Hey, get your ticket out."
Oh no!
And I was like, "Why?" I didn't even hear what they were talking about, right? And I was like, "Why?" And he said, "Get your ticket out." And I went like this, and he said, "My gosh, they just called you. You're the halftime shot." And this is on my recruiting trip, right? And I'm like, "No, I don't want to. I do not want to do this." And he's like, "This is awesome. You're the halftime." Well, obviously it was set up, right?
Yeah.
And so here we go. Go down. There's like 5 minutes left. I go down onto the floor, on the edge of the floor in the corner with the golf coach. Then it's halftime. Then here comes everybody from that athletic department that I'd already met. But like the students and the fans don't know that it's a setup.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's just like the people running. It's all the athletic department people. And I'm like, this is not good. And so now I'm nervous, right?
Sure.
You know how when you get nervous, you get
Yeah.
alligator arms when you get nervous, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this is gonna be bad. I got the whole student section is like weighted because they want to see the shot, because if it's a good one, they're gonna go crazy in the whole thing. And I go down there, get in the middle of the floor. They hand me a ball, take a couple dribbles, and mind you, I'm an Indiana guy.
You're a good athlete.
Oh, you take me to the high school right now and put me at half court. I mean, give me 6 and I'm gonna make 1.
Sure.
And so I take a couple dribbles, I give it this, I go like this, and my nerves get the better of me, and I short arm it. It kind of comes off like this, and the thing barely lands past the free throw line.
I bet you just want to crawl the hole.
You should have heard the boos. The entire student section wore me out, and it was an incredible experience. Oklahoma State, they wanted me to come, and at the time they were by far the best team in the country, and they had the golf team had their own private plane. They send the freaking private plane to pick me up. I fly to Stillwater, Oklahoma in a private plane, the whole thing. So I had all these great things. To answer your question, there were 2 things. I go to Ohio State for my visit at Ohio State, and it's football season.
Oh, yeah.
I walk in that stadium, and the love that I have for football, I walk in that stadium, and there's 100,000 crazy people. We've done that, walking through all the tailgate and everything, and everybody is totally into it. And I felt the energy. I saw what it was. I walked into the stadium, and I will never forget. I walked in the stadium. I'm down on the field, and I walk in the stadium. I go like this, and I'm like, "That's where I'm going."
Yeah,
it gives me goosebumps talking about it right now. And you mix that with, I wanted to stay in the North because I had seen my brothers go down south, had to practice all day, every day. When I was at Oklahoma State, they were the national champions that year, but the coach took me on a Sunday morning. They had a house that all the golfers lived in. The coach put me in his car, went to the house at 6:00 on Sunday morning, knocked on the doors, yelled at everybody, told them to get up, made one guy that had to make weight for the trip the next week put on a rubber suit and go run 2 miles.
Had to make weight for golf?
Oh yeah, EJ Pfister. He ended up winning the national championship my freshman year in Thousand Oaks, California.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
he had to make weight. But I saw that, and I'm like, okay, I like, as good as they are, I want to have an experience. I want to have a full college experience. And I will tell you, the last piece of the puzzle, I'd really pretty much already made up my mind. But the last piece of the puzzle, we're out at mom and dad's house here in Rochester, and it's like 5:00 in the afternoon. My mom, the phone rings. Back in the day, it was just a phone on the side of the wall with a cord. The phone rings in the kitchen. I'm sitting in the living room watching TV. The phone rings. My mom said, "Oh, sure. Hold on 1 second." And mom looks around the corner and says, "Chris, it's for you." And I said, who is it? And She says Jack Nicklaus. And I said, yeah, right. And she said, no, really, it's Jack Nicklaus. So I said, who is this? Yeah, Chris, it's Jack Nicklaus. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is Jack Nicklaus.
Brought in the closer.
Brought in the closer. And he said, I just wanted you to know that I spent my time there. I love that place. I love that university. My son, Gary, is your age. He's going to go to Ohio State. And I feel like you guys would have a chance of having a great time and, having a chance to win a national championship. And I said, yes, sir. I'm there.
That would
yes,
do
sir,
it.
Mr. Nicholas. I'm in.
It. And you and Gary were roommates for a little bit, right?
Freshman year, which he was there. I don't know. They had a house out at Muirfield. So that freshman athletic dorm compared to the Nicholas house out at Muirfield, it's a little better out there.
Sure.
He would leave the dorm and we'd get none of our stuff and he'd leave the dorm. He's like, yeah, I might go out to mom and dad's. He's got the chef at Muirfield. So he would go out to their house and spend the night out there. And as soon as he get there, he'd call to the club and he'd tell the chef, hey, what do you got in there? Like, I'm really hungry. And so he's bringing in food from the club and I'm sitting there eating stale Fruit Loops and in my dorm room with a can of pineapple.
College life. You're living the actual college life.
With a hot pot. If I put some ramen noodles in there and warmed them up, if I really wanted to be fancy. But then after that, he didn't even try to fake it anymore. And he went out to Muirfield. And so, but I lived with the same two guys the last 3 years and they were great. And one of them was also our roommate the first year. And so, I mean, it was like the whole experience at Ohio State was incredible. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we were just talking before we recorded. I mean, Ohio State, not only, of course, the juggernaut in football, basketball team's doing pretty well right now. So you got it all going on right now.
I'll tell you what, the Ohio State has got some, and let's not forget that the Buckeye golf team just signed the #1 player in the country.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Nephew Brad, Todd's son Brad is the assistant coach over there. They got the #1 player in the country coming next year, which is a big deal.
Oh yeah.
And they're building themselves a pretty good golf team over there too.
Good. Somebody needs to take Illinois down.
Oh yeah. Well, Ohio State's going to take Illinois and Mike Small right down the tubes.
Yeah, he's got quite a.
I mean, I feel like your boy Rob over there at Purdue, good friend of mine, great hire, great guy. Rob Bradley, great coach, great. I played the whatever you want to call it, Korn Ferry, Webb, Nike, whatever you want to call it now. I played that tour with him. He's got himself a good job over there and he's doing a good job and he will continue to have good players. So Purdue's in good hands. Don't worry about Purdue.
No, I'm not worried. I got faith in Mike Bobisky, athletic director. So
they're in good hands. And Mitch Daniels. I mean,
hello. I mean, he's
how can you not have faith in Mitch Daniels?
That was fun. I was junior when his first year as the president there. So that was fun.
He's a good American, that guy.
Yeah. I'll leave my comments out. I was going to say something political, but I'll stop.
I just said American. He's a good American.
You're fine. I was going to get myself in trouble there. So, but you won 13. You had 13 amateur wins, and 7 of those were individual titles at Ohio State, including the 1990 Big Ten championship, 4-time All Big Ten, 1988 Freshman of the Year, 1990 Player of the Year, honorable mention All-American, 1990 First Team in 91 All-American, along with Phil Mickelson. David Duvall. Was Justin Leonard one of those? Was he second team?
Justin was second team. Okay. We had, let's see Kevin Wentworth, Sean McKeel of Indiana fame and PGA champion. So we had me, Phil, David, Sean McKeel, Kevin Wentworth from Oklahoma State, Christian Penna from Arizona, Warren Scuda from UNLV, who won the national championship that year. And the last one, I'm not going to be able to come up with.
And
that's pretty good, though.
Enough. I only had a couple marked down, so that's good. Right off the top
I'll go home and look at the plaque, and I'll text you.
He didn't know that was coming, people.
I did not know that was coming.
Top of his head. If you're listening to this, you need to go check out the video.
When I talk golf, it's not like I'm an old man. You get me away from golf, I don't remember anything, but golf I can remember.
That's a good thing, though. And you became a member of the Ohio State Hall of Fame in 2000.
I did.
I did not know that until just recently.
That's
pretty cool.
You know, so there's a good story that goes with
Mhm.
that. I went in with Keith Byers, right?
Mhm.
And so it's at a football game, and it's Keith Byers, Chris Spielman, me, a guy from the diving team, a guy from the swim team, a girl from like the ladies lacrosse team or something. So we're down on Cameron is a little 3-year-old. Abigail's 7. Beth is there. All our families are there. They have a big ceremony the night before. Then we go to the football game, and they take us down in the middle of the field at the football game, and they introduce us and 100,000 people.
Mhm.
So I get down there, and like, it's cool, right? And I'm
Sure.
down in the middle of the field, and it's like I'm bleeding some scarlet and gray
Uh-huh.
right now, right? So they have us lined up at like 5-yard intervals. And so the one before me was, I don't know why in the world they put me between Byers and Spielman, but the one before me is Byers, and it's just like, and the other ones, to be fair, the other ones were like me, which, I mean, the fans were very appreciative,
Sure.
but it's
They would be.
different
Yeah.
at a football game.
Yeah, sure.
So Byers, which he's great, and I knew Chris Spielman I've known the whole time, but so we and I'm sitting down there, and it's cool, and Byers gets he gets a pretty loud
Roaring ovation. Yeah.
and frickin' then it comes to me, and it's not anywhere near Byers, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like
You're happy with it. You're
I'm
happy with it?
I'm happy. It's like, yeah, that's right. Well, then they introduced Spielman, and I'm telling you, the place, you could hear that yell in Toledo. Like, it went crazy. And
Sure.
so all of a sudden I was just like, yeah.
Darn it.
Yeah. And so I go back up the stands. I'm like, hey, was my cheer good? And they're like, yeah, it was fine.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah,
Though.
that was 2000.
Yeah.
Very incredibly proud of that.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, just think of all the great athletes at Ohio State.
Yeah, it's fun.
You're in there forever.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
cool.
know. I don't know if I deserve it, but I'm proud of it.
Oh, sure you do. I mean, look, the accolades I just read off. Sure you do.
I don't know if I do
Sure.
or not, but
and then you had 14 professional wins. You became the first golfer on the Nike Tour then, now it's the Korn Ferry, to make it to the PGA Tour via the Battlefield promotion. So that means 3 wins in one season.
that is true. That was 97.
Mhm.
And I'd gotten my card in 96. And as is the case, especially back then, still pretty much the case now, but back then it was almost a given. I lost my card and didn't have anywhere to play in 97. And so I get a sponsor exemption in the first Nike event. 97, I top 25, get in the next event. I top 25, get in the next event. Then it turns into a reshuffle situation. So then all of a sudden I have status. So long story short, I kind of get a little hot. I start playing some good golf. I win one, have a couple of good weeks. Then I win another one. And they had just that year was the first year that they had come up with this Battlefield, because it had been a thing before. Like, they were trying to figure out ways to make the tour more valuable and more sellable to sponsors and stuff like that.
Makes
so
sense.
if you create this thing where a guy can do something, which there hadn't been, I don't believe, and all you people can fact check me, but I don't think anybody had won 3 in 1 year before that.
No, you were the first one.
So they wanted to make it more intriguing, enticing, whatever. So here I am. Now step back in time. It's 1997, and at the time there were no cell phones, right? There were these things called bag phones. So ask your dad.
I've never heard that term before.
You've never heard of a bag phone?
No.
Okay,
a car phone, yes, but not.
Here's what a bag phone was. It was better than the car phone, because the bag phone was in a leather bag, and you could plug it into your cigarette lighter, and you could put it in your car. And then if you really needed to, you could then like take it into the house and plug it into the wall and use it there too, as a mobile car phone.
All right.
Not a mobile phone.
Mobile car phone.
It was a mobile car phone. And it was like, if you were not within like 1 mile of your house,
good luck.
No, you could get service, but you're on this thing called roaming.
Yeah.
And instead of it being cheap at $2 a minute, when you got into roaming, it turned into like $8 a minute. And I had no business having one of these, but I was driving this tour, and so I had one of these phones, and it was one of those deals, use it in emergencies. If I get broken down or whatever, which if you get broken down in the country with the old bag phone in 1997, it ain't any, you don't have the chance to spend $10 a minute because it ain't getting reception. But if you get in a bad spot in some city or something. So anyway, I had one of these sat in my car, never used it because I didn't have any money. And it was like, literally it would be like $4 a minute. So I win this third tournament in Omaha, and I've been listening to the Kool-Aid that the tour's sending out the whole time. And so I'm like, I am next week. I mean, I got to trying to figure out where the next tour event is, because obviously immediate to the tour. So that I put in on 18, I won by 11. I put in on 18. The commissioner of that tour comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, I'd really appreciate if you just don't say very much about when you're going to play again, because we don't really know when you're going to play again." And I said, "Yeah, okay, whatever." So I go sign my scorecard. I do all the press. I'm like, I just got to I'm going to soak this in for a little while. I don't know when I'm going to play again. I followed the company line, right? And the whole thing. And so we get done, everything settles down. I've got my car out there in Omaha, Nebraska, and all I want to do is get home. And living in Peru at the time, and all I want to do is get home. So I sleep in Omaha that night. I get up the next morning, and I have no idea when I'm going to play again. But I've already gotten Golf Week, Sports Illustrated, Golf Digest. They've all already reached out to my agent. And they all want to come to Peru and do a story. So I've got to figure out when I'm going to play again. So I get 2 hours into the drive on Monday morning at 10 o'clock, and my bag phone rings. And I am like, this is not good, because I can't afford to answer this. But I need to. Who has this number? There ain't nobody. The only person that could be calling is Beth, and she's calling me because we've got a problem. So I was like, all right. And I kind of went like this, and I picked the bag phone up and said hello. And it was Commissioner Fincham. And he said, "Hey, Chris." And I said, "Hey, Tim, how are you?" And good. He said, "Hey, great playing. Really proud of you. You played great this year. It's whatever it was. I think it was in July. It's only July. You got the battlefield. Welcome back to the PGA Tour." Because I played and I knew Tim, and Tim is great. Tim is a player's commissioner. He's great. But anyway, we talked for a few minutes, and he goes, "So we did not honestly expect this to happen. So it's a true story. You can't make this up. No. We did not expect this to happen. We do not really know where you fit in on priority of getting into tournaments. So I know that you've gotten a lot of requests. I know you're going to do a lot of stories this week. You're going to be doing a lot of interviews. And until we get back to you, we'd appreciate it if you just could go with, well, I'm going to enjoy this for a little while and play when I'm not really sure when I'm going to play. I'm not really sure when I'm going to get in and whatever." And the funny thing about the call is, which it was no big deal to me. I mean, it caught him off guard, and I ended up qualifying for the US Open. So I'd already played the US Open that year, and I played, I think, 4 other tour events. One of them, I think I finished 3rd in one of them. I ended up finishing like 151st on the money list that year with 5 tournaments. I played really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's really good.
But it's the funny thing about it was I didn't really care. I was super happy. I just wanted to come home and celebrate and whatever. But when I got off the phone, I remember saying, "Hey, thanks, Tim. If, let me know, whatever." And I wasn't upset about it at all. But the only thing I remember, he kept talking, right? And I was like, I got to get him off of the phone because I'm spending $7 a minute right now. I've got to get my man off the phone. But it's the commissioner, right? So you can't do that. And so I remember when I remember trying to push him into being done with the conversation. Then it was like, "All right, yeah, thanks, Tim. Just let me know and call my home phone," and hit end and put it down. But I mean, I ended up talking to him for like 20 minutes, but
nice little phone bill.
it was a nice little phone bill. But the funny part about it was like the whole thing, there's like a lot of different pieces of that were like an interesting experience in my life.
Sure. I mean, that's something you're always going to remember.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
Big baby blue Crown Victoria. I was driving home from Omaha.
What a story.
With a bag.
Love it. So let's fast forward a little bit to June 9th, 2002. So you've been on tour a couple of years now. You're leading the Buick Classic in Harrison, New York.
Yeah. What day is June 9th?
Sunday.
Oh, that's Sunday.
So what were your thoughts going into the par 5 18th that day?
Well,
or if you want to
talk
any more detail before that moment.
No. I mean, I'll talk whatever you want. So the whole day was a roller. I was out there by myself. I'm at the hotel. I'm obviously nervous. I'm teeing off at whatever, noon, 1 o'clock. It's 9:30 in the morning. I'm nervous. I'm sitting in my hotel room and there's a knock on the door and I'm like,
who's this?
So I open the door and Beth.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Beth was in Toledo with the kids and her mom. And when I was leading after Saturday, she got on an airplane at 6 o'clock in Toledo. Didn't tell me. Nobody told me.
Good. Sure.
And that was a good program because that kind of got me sidetracked. But throughout the day, the whole round was kind of, I was playing really well and I was really in control of what I was doing. Now, the emotions of, I'd been close before, but the emotions of closing the deal on something, I told you I was 5 years old and I was on the little car path to the right of number 9 green at the Elks, dreaming of that moment. So the emotion of that was the hard part to contain. I hit the wrong club on 16 at par 3, left it short of the green, hit an incredible chip, fighting my nerves, hit a great chip, tapped it in for par. 17's a par 4. You got to get the drive in the fairway. I flare my drive out on 17 into the bunker underneath the lip. I've got 155 yards underneath the lip. No shot. The pin's tucked behind the bunker. And I hit not the best shot of my life, but in the circumstances, the best shot that I've ever hit. And I hit this beautiful thing up there. It covers the lip. I hit it solid. It's towering. It's high. It lands 20 feet right of the hole. Perfect. 2-putt it. Pat Perez, 3 putts. Next thing, I'm playing with Lauren Roberts. Pat Perez is in the group in front. He 3 putts, makes a bogey. I hit it on the green, 2-putt, make par. Lauren knew that he was not going to beat me that day.
Yeah.
Like he knew, which I mean, he would probably never admit this, but I knew that he knew, like on the 7th hole, that he didn't have it. He was not going to beat me that day. So he was fighting. He ended up finishing tied second. So he was fighting for that. So next thing you know, I get on 18T and it's a sharp dogleg left par 5 at Westchester. And my caddy is like Patrick Cantlay's caddy now. We all know Revy at this point, but, and he was my college friend at Ohio State. So, I mean, I was his first bag. So at this point, he had never won. Yeah. So it's like my driver's my best club. It's a very reachable par 5. I hit a nice drive down the right side. You got to stay off of the left trees because if you hit in the left trees, you can make it triple. So I hit a nice drive down the right side. It just gets into the first cut of rough about this far. And I'm sitting there. I've got like 225 to the pin and the pin's kind of tucked in the back, right? And there's bunkers and there's grandstands and there's clubhouse and I've got a 2-shot lead. And I looked at Revy and I'm like, what do you think it is? And he's like, it's a layup. This is a 9-iron. I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, we're not in 9-iron. He said, we're in 9. And I said, I'm not like I get in my 5-wood, which back in the day, I had a 5-wood at that tournament because the rough was long and you had to hit it high. The greens were small. And so I'm like, it's a perfect 5-wood. And he's like, And I said, okay, how about 7-iron? And he said, okay, that's fine. I said, well, just tell me, I want to be like 100 to 110 yards. Cause I wanted to have that, not a lob wedge, but I wanted to have that nice solid gap wedge length. And he talked me into 7-iron. I hit the 7-iron. I remember as clear as day walking up to that shot and I'm fighting all these emotions. I can feel myself starting to cry.
Sure.
And I'm like, you got a lot of golf left. Like this is this is not over. And so I'm like, I'm fighting it. Revy's trying to be nice and funny and talking or whatever. We get up to my ball. The pin's on the back right. I've got the perfect number for like the full gap wedge. And I lay the sod over it. I get steep on it. I'm nervous. I get fast. I get steep. I get like this. The thing comes off left. I dig the heel and it lands like in the front half of the left side of the green. It starts spinning back. And so now I've got like, which was fine.
Yeah.
I've got 2-shot lead. Even if I've got 2 shots on Lauren. And even if Lauren makes birdie, if I 2-putt, I still win. So I just needed, and Lauren couldn't get there in 2. So Lauren did go at the green, but he left it short. He's in the rough. He's got a tough pitch, short-sighted. He hits a terrible pitch, but so it was fine. But now I'm walking up to the green. I'm like, ooh, like now I'm back. It's now instead of just kind of feeling it here, I'm feeling it in my hands and my arms. I'm feeling it in everything. So I get over that. It's a long putt, left to right or a little bit uphill. You got to go down through a thing, back up. It's on the tier. I've got a 45-footer. And I almost made the thing. Like something took over, and I almost made the thing. And I hit a good putt, and it didn't go in. And I which my mom has this picture at the house. I've got my hands up like this, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And then I've got like, so Lauren putts out, and I've got like this far left, and I'm standing looking at it. I'm thinking, I've got 2 putts.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Just hit it soft.
Yeah.
Just hit this thing soft. But I did not hit it soft. Like I get over it and I hit it way too hard. And I just got a little of the nerve thing and I pulled it just a little bit and the thing went in the left half of the hole. And if it wouldn't have hit the left half of the hole, I very easily would have had a 6-footer coming back. And I had a putt from this far.
Well,
but it went in. Then I gave it this, yep. And it was, we talked about the state high school, which means as much to me as anything in my life.
Sure.
I had never, like, my brothers didn't win a tour event. So it was a whole new, like, it wasn't for me. It wasn't like, oh, okay, I did this. Let's get over this. What am I doing next? It was like, oh my gosh, I just like everything you worked 100,000 hours that I spent at the Rochester Elks came to this,
paid off,
and it was incredible.
I presume that's your most proud accomplishment on the golf course. Is that fair to say?
Probably not.
No. What would be?
As a whole, I am much more proud of my accomplishments in Indiana.
Okay.
I am 2 state juniors, a high school and an amateur. In Indiana, I'm more proud of that. The one win that I'm probably the most proud of is the Indiana State Amateur.
Interesting.
Now, they're different. You know, you got to categorize them. But in the simplest of answers, my Indiana stuff is more important to me than my professional stuff.
It goes back to your roots.
And to be fair, if we really wanted to push it further, like phase 2 would probably be the stuff I did at Ohio State. Because that stuff is it's just deeper in my soul.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah, I was looking at the leaderboard from this tournament back in 2002, and there's some really notable names on this top 10 list.
Okay, I know where you're going with this. This is the same question I get every time. Did Tiger play?
I wasn't going to ask that.
He's the only one of the, so 29 of the top 30 in the world played that event.
And he was the one who didn't.
He was the one that didn't.
Sponsored by Buick.
Yeah, and he was sponsored by Buick. But the next week was the U.S. Open at Bethpage.
Okay.
And so the other 29 of the top 30 played at Westchester to play in New York and to keep playing and all that stuff. And Tiger took the week off and went to Bethpage.
He was scared. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's what it was.
Can you tell me some of the other names that finished in the top 10 that day or that weekend?
Oh, yeah. You got David Gossett. You got Pat Perez. You got Lauren Roberts. I don't think Jerry Kelly was top 10.
Yes, he was.
It was Jerry Kelly top 10. I know he played well.
Yep.
I know that Phil was not top 10.
Nope.
Ernie Els was not top 10. How many of the top 10 do I have? Was David Toms?
David Toms was not. I only got 4
Oh.
more names down. I am missing somebody. You named one of the ones I didn't have down.
Stuart Sink.
Stuart Sink was?
Yeah, I remember him. Are they people that I would remember?
Oh, I wrote these down because they were notable to me, so I figured.
So I've got Stewie, I've got Jerry Kelly, Perez,
Lauren
Gossett, Roberts,
Yep.
and me.
Yep.
So I have 6 of the top 10.
And I only have 3 more left, so I'm forgetting.
Can you give me initial of the last name?
L?
Steve Elkington?
Nope.
Oh, L.
L.
Not
Yep.
E.
No, L. Yep.
Tom Lehman?
Tom Lehman.
Was he a top 10er?
Yes, he was.
It's so funny. I was just talking about the 1998 Pebble Beach because they're playing Pebble Beach this week. 1998 Pebble Beach. I T9. You know who I T9'd with? Tom Lehman and Tom Watson.
Oh, 2 Toms. 2
Two
really good
Toms.
Toms.
2 Toms. So we got Lehman. So now we're at 7.
I'll give you the initial again and the last name here. A.
Stuart Appleby?
Nope.
What's the first name start with?
S.
S.A.?
And it's not Appleby.
Oh, this is awful. See, now I'm starting to feel a little bit. My memory is good with golf. I don't know.
Stephen Ames.
Oh, my gosh.
And then
Players Championship champion, Stephen Ames.
this one.
Crazy Stephen Ames.
Last name's F.
Is he my age or younger?
I think he's right around your age. I think. That's off the top of my head.
Fred Funk?
Nope.
He's older than me.
Yes,
Thank
he
you for
is.
saying he's not my age.
Yes,
Because he's a lot older than me.
I think this guy is now eligible to play on the senior tour. I think.
And his last name starts with F?
He's a major champion.
Major champion. Did he win the Masters?
Nope. Should have 1 year. Could have 1 year.
That's not who I was thinking of.
The U.S. Open champ.
Trevor Immelman is who I was thinking of. That's not an F. He's a U.S. Open champ. Would have been one of the
most unique swings in golf.
Oh, Jim Furyk. Yeah, he's Furyk.
He was tied.
Multi U.S. Open champion.
Yes, he and Lehman and a couple other guys tied towards the back, kind of the back end of the top 10.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
It's I've got 2 things going here. I'm impressed that I named as many as I did, but I'm sad I couldn't come up with those names.
I was impressed. I mean, I didn't give you any prep, no study.
No study. But I do have that. As you know, I do have that scoreboard hanging in my house.
Yes,
so
it's really cool.
In case you haven't noticed, I don't get past that Chris Smith champion one very often.
Either.
I don't get down into the top 10s.
Just such a neat accomplishment to hear your story looking back on it's amazing.
The best thing about that, which I don't know how much time we have, but the best thing about that whole story is so I win, right? And now we're in Rye, New York, just outside of Harrison, yeah. But the golf course is in Rye. There's nothing there. My caddy Revy, his dad is living in Manhattan at the time, and I got to do all this media stuff. And there's at Westchester. There's a huge old hotel at Westchester on property. And it's where, like in the 30s, the people from the elite from New York City would come up on the weekends to Westchester Country Club, and they would stay in this hotel. And it was like, it's all old architecture, vintage, unbelievable place. And it's all right on property right there. But other than that, there's like, it's a little, Rye, New York is a little village. So I win. I drink 1 beer.
You remember what the beer was?
Actually, I think it was a Bud Light.
Okay.
Which is really sad.
No, nothing wrong with that.
The only reason I drank the beer, to be honest, Beth was there with me. She'd had a long day. The only reason I drank the beer was because it's a tradition. My picture is still hanging in the men's grill at Westchester Country Club. And every year, the winter, when they're done with their media deal, the men members sit in the men's grill and wait for the winner to come in. And he comes in and has a beer with them.
Okay.
And so I did that. And I went and cleaned out my locker, paid the locker room guys, finally get back down. They had gotten me Beth and I, a hotel room at the hotel on the property. But now it's time to party.
Oh, sure.
Like, I am ready to party. I'm starving. I'm ready to party. So we get in the courtesy car. We've got myself and Beth and my caddy and his girlfriend. and another friend of mine that lives in New York and his wife. There's like 8 of us. Revy's dad. There's like 8 of us. And we go to like the 4 places that we knew in that within reasonable distance, and they're all closed.
Oh, of course.
So now I've had the 1 beer with the men. That was 3 hours earlier. They're closed. They're all like, hey, we're going into the city. Let's go into the city. I looked at Beth and I was like, I don't like, it's already at this point, it's whatever, 10:30. So we decide just go back to the hotel. And I'm like, you know what? We'll go back to the hotel. I'll get room service. We'll get a bunch of champagne, beers, booze, room service. We aren't flying out till noon the next day. It's all good. I'm not playing the US Open the next week. Everything's good. We're going to go back to the hotel, have fun. So I pull back into the front of the hotel. I walk in the hotel. There's like, it's been a long week for the property, right? So they've sent everybody home, and now they've got like a 20-year-old dude that's manning the counter at the hotel, and the hotel's empty because it's been capacity the whole time. The hotel's empty. I walked in and I said, hey, reservation. Okay, what's your name? Chris Smith. Oh yeah, I see you here. Gives me the key. He's like, oh, you got a nice room. I said, yeah, thanks. And I had no idea. Like the tournament got me the room, right? And I said, hey, we haven't had anything to eat. We're really hungry, and I really need some beers and maybe a bottle or 2 of champagne. Could you help me out with that? And you know what the guy said?
Not available now.
The guy said, I'm sorry. We had like this really big golf tournament here this weekend, and everybody's gone home and the bar is closed and the restaurant is closed. I'm sorry. And he had no idea that I just won it. I said, okay, that's fine. Like, I understand. Yeah. That's good. And didn't tell him anything. I went back to the car. I got our suitcase back out of the car. Freaking Beth and I went up to the room. So I go to the room and I'm like, I'm starving. And so it's like, okay, Domino's. I finally find a Domino's that'll deliver. And so I get a Domino's pizza with a 2-liter Diet Coke. It's this big suite with like a living room, and you go through the hallway and there's a bedroom back here. And so Beth has had a super long day. She goes back to shower. She gets back in, lays on the bed. She said, wake me up when the pizza get there. So I go out to the living room. I'm sitting there and I'm like, all I want to do is watch ESPN, right? I want to watch because back then ESPN played SportsCenter over and over and over again. So I sat there, waited for the pizza to get there. The pizza came. I was watching ESPN over and over to watch the golf tournament highlights. The pizza comes, I go back. Beth is out to sleep under the covers. Never had a drop of alcohol. And I went back in the living room and I sat out there until 4:00 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. I ate the entire pizza myself. I got all but about that much of the Diet Coke down, of the 2-liter Diet Coke. Never slept a wink that night. Went back, laid down for about an hour, got up, took a shower, and started my day the next day. Incredible. No celebration whatsoever.
Incredible story.
True story. That is 100% true.
Did you get to see it on SportsCenter?
I did. Oh yeah. Okay. I knew. I got to the point
where I was going. I thought you were going to say you got up, went to get the pizza, and you missed it. That's where I thought it was going.
I saw it so many times. I got to the point that I knew exactly when it was coming, so I didn't pay attention. I was sitting on the couch going like this, thinking about the day, and oh my gosh, I'm a tour winner. And then when I knew that the story leading up to it, I'd start paying attention. I watch again. I mean, it played like 5 times through the night. I never went to bed.
I've never seen that round.
I got it on DVD. You should come on over.
I need to someday because I know my dad talks about it. My dad's one of the biggest fans of yours I know, even to this day.
Well, it's a very mutual thing. I'm pretty impressed with your dad.
Well, he'll appreciate that. But I've seen him pace during Purdue games on TV. Guarantee you he was pacing when you're on hole 18 that day. I'm going to have to ask my mom. I guarantee it. I'd put a lot of money on it.
I could see it. And you talk, you and I talk about it. I'm so impressed with your golf knowledge. Or sports knowledge. Your dad is.
He's hard to touch.
He's another level.
The present day, I can give him a good run. But if it's like the older stuff, like especially before I was born, I can't touch him.
Oh, I can't blame you for that.
And that's the nicest thing I'll say about him because I don't give him a lot of compliments when it comes to sports knowledge because
he's probably not even watching this anyway. Does he even watch yours?
Oh, he watches. He critiques. Yes.
I'm kidding.
Oh yes, he critiques. But so then you've played on the tour up until recently. and you were on the senior tour 2 years ago, and you got to start the U.S. Senior Open up at the Warren course in Notre Dame.
Yeah, you talked earlier about, which this isn't nearly as fun as stories, but you talked earlier about my greatest accomplishment in golf. I would for sure, one of the top 7 or 8 things I'd put in my life in golf happened at that U.S. Senior Open at Notre Dame in 19. I was the only Indiana player playing.
Yep.
I had history with the tour and with the USGA and the US Opens, and I'd always let the USGA know that I appreciated them. I used to really enjoy the US Open until they kind of lost their mind at Shinnecock. But
you played in 5 of them. For everybody who didn't know that.
We had a good relationship. I knew them all. I played in a bunch of US Juniors, US Amateurs, US Opens, made the progression through everything, made friends, played fairly well in all the US Opens. So now we get to Indiana, and I'm the only Indiana resident that's in the field. And so they came to me on Tuesday, right before the tee times came out, and they said, "Hey, we just wanted you to know that you're the one that's going to be starting the tournament." And I said, "Well, like, did you take me out of the field? Am I like pulling the Jack Nicklaus Gary Player honorary shot on the first hole?" And they're like, "No, you're going to be the first group off of the first hole, and you're going to hit the first shot. You're going to have the honor in the group." And we thought it would mean a lot to you. And it was an unbelievable honor. And it meant so much more to me than they'll ever know. I wrote them all notes and, thanked them for it. And it meant more to me than they will ever know. But I will tell you, of all the golf I ever played, that shot was the most nervous that I ever was. And that was just, it was a meaningless old man tournament in my own home state, surrounded by people that didn't care if I had a good shot or not. But I had to back off. I'm like, we get on the tee, and my caddy Aaron is standing there, and I'm like, I'm wanting to tee my ball up. I want to get this thing over with. And I started to step into my shot and get over my ball. They had introduced me, and I could feel myself starting to cry. And I was like, "Oh, you're going to whiff. Do not whiff." Do not whiff. And so I backed off, and I grabbed the towel, and I started my whole routine over. Then when I got in the second time, I was like, "Okay, I know what's going on. It's going to be set foot, grab club, swing." And I hit I should hit my hybrid 255, and I hit a little flare out there about 217 that barely covered the creek on the first hole on the right in the rough. And it was like one of the greatest shots I've ever hit, because I didn't whiff it. I didn't shank it. I didn't hit it into the creek. I didn't do anything. I made contact, but it was an incredible honor. So that's by far been the thing that I've been the most proud of with my golf for the last several years.
Yeah, that's such a cool story, such a cool honor, like you said. And I remember all the news channels up here giving you some coverage.
Yeah,
pretty neat time.
Yeah, it was something that I was incredibly appreciative of.
I mentioned you played in 5 U.S. Opens. I should mention you played in 2 Open Championships, which I still call the British Open.
Go ahead, I do too.
2 PGA Championships, 4 Players Championships. One thing my dad wanted me to make sure that I shared was he remembered waking up early one year to watch the Open.
True story. 2002, not 1 year. That was in 2002, baby.
He turns on the TV at Christmas at the top of the leaderboard.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget it either, because we're playing they start the broadcast over here at like 5 a.m. And so it's like I teed off at noon. So it's not like it was like there were a lot of players out, but you also played that you play until 9 o'clock at night over there. So we get the first time at Muirfield, it's like the 4th or 5th hole. I get off to a good start. Like, I think it's the 5th hole. I think I maybe birdie 3 of the first 4. And the boards over at the British Open are all manual, and they're
awesome.
big. Yeah. And so you got this, there's a dogleg left par 5, and I'm off to a good start and having a great time. It's my first British Open. It's my dream to play in that tournament. Having a great time, making some birdies. I have no idea what's going on. And we get around the corner, and there's a big dune. We get around the corner, and there's the first board. And I looked at the board, and by now we do have cell phones, right?
Yeah.
So I look at the board, and I grab Revy's arm, and I said, and he knew exactly what I was thinking. He's like, "Don't do it."
Yeah.
I wanted to take my phone out,
sure,
and take a picture because right there I am. I'm on, like, I am leading the British Open, and I'm like, okay. And I ended up playing pretty good, but Beth did the same thing because Beth was at home. She wasn't over there with me. She was at home, and she woke up. She set her alarm, gets up at 5 o'clock or whatever time it comes on, 5:30, and it comes on. And the first thing they do is, and welcome to the British Open, American Chris Smith leading early through the first round. And she was freaking out too.
Sure.
Now, I did get a little bit of a break with the draw there. If you remember, which you probably don't remember that tournament. But it got really, really bad on Saturday. And so I'm playing pretty good, made the cut, playing pretty good, have a really good Saturday. And then when we were on like 17 was a par 5. We were the day before I had driver 4-iron on the green on, because it's so hard and you chase it and run it. I had driver 4-iron on the green on 17. Well, this storm comes in. And when I say a storm, I'm not talking about like a Rochester Indiana storm. I'm talking, it's a British Open storm. And all of a sudden it's blowing 45. It's raining sideways. You don't have your umbrella out because it's raining so hard. You can't have an umbrella out. You got your rain suit on. You're hiding behind like your caddy and doing this stuff. Well, 17 on Saturday in this storm, I had driver 7-iron. And the day before I had hit driver 4-iron on the green.
That's incredible.
But I got it up on the green, made par, get done. I had a nice round on Saturday. I get done on Saturday, and I'm like in 16th place. And it's just like, I'm going to win this. I'm going to win this son of a gun tomorrow. Well, I shot like 78 on Sunday, and I dropped to whatever, 45th or whatever I did. But I was sitting there, and I was playing really good at the time, and I was really confident. I was sitting there, and I was like, I'm gonna contend, because I just won like 4 weeks before that. And I'm like, I'm going to contend in this tournament. And it was something that I don't want to say nerves. I want to say just life dream, life image, life thought of contending at the British Open. It was a lot for me to handle that day.
Oh, it'd be a lot for anybody to handle, I would think.
It was a lot for me to handle that day. But I was proud of myself. I went back the next year. I played good again the next year, made the cut the next year. So
you like links golf?
Love it.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
That's
on the bucket list of mine to go play some links golf someday.
If you looked at me and said, hey, I got a really nice little cottage for you over there in Scotland, you can live the rest of your life in Scotland and drink their beer and play their golf.
Sign you up.
I'm like, find somebody to buy my house because I'm in.
Got a few more questions for you, Chris, then we'll let you go. Really appreciate you taking the time to come up and do this interview with me. I asked some people for some questions, and a lot of them wanted to know if you had any good stories or what it was like to play with Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods.
I would say, in a quick answer on that, I would say that both of them are not what you think they are. That's not fair. Phil kind of is what you think he is. Phil has done some very nice things with what I went through in my life. After that, Phil did a few things for me, which, we go back to college golf. I've known Phil for a long time, but he did some really nice things for me that he made sure that he did them when nobody was around.
Gotcha.
And we played the last round together in 2015 at Phoenix, and he waited till our score was gone, till the rules guy was gone out of the trailer scoring on Sunday. And he did something. He gave me some information that he wanted to make sure he was not doing it because he wanted somebody to say, oh, that Phil, he's a nice guy. He
genuinely wanted
to help me with my golf game.
Yeah.
And he didn't want anybody. He didn't want any.
He wanted publicity for it.
No.
He wanted to do to help you.
The one thing I will say about both of them is when you play with them, everything kind of goes from this to this, and you can guarantee that you're going to play better because you're going to be
Dialed
locked in.
Mhm.
And if you're struggling with your game, you're still going to be locked in enough that you can manage a score. And if you're playing good, you're going to be locked in to the point that you're going to play really good. Unfortunately, like I don't know. I played with Phil enough that I don't know. I'm guessing the first 2 rounds of tournaments, I was probably paired with Tiger 5 times.
Okay.
I'm guessing. 2 of the 5, one of them was at the Memorial and one of them was in Chicago. And it seems like a good thing, but then you have all the people from home that want to come watch because, oh, you're playing with Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
And so, at the Memorial, whatever year it was, 03, I think, I get paired with him on Thursday and Friday. It's me, him, and Ernie Els, I believe. And it's just like everybody's so excited, everybody's calling me. And so it's Ohio State land. So I go in there and I say, I need like 80 tickets. And they're like, okay, we'll get you 80 tickets. So I get them dispersed to everybody. Well, they all come. Well, there were only 3 people that came on Friday. And that was Beth and my 2 parents. Because there's 25,000 people coming with us.
Yeah.
And you can't see it. Like everybody that came to watch me said, oh, we'll be back on Saturday. And that part of being a spectator and watching Tiger Woods, I've never done it, but it's got to be awful. Being a player and being on the inside, it's I was going to say it's fantastic. It's not fantastic because it's much easier to not have all the movement, not have the TV cameras, not have like all the stuff.
Sure.
But if you're a competitor and you're an athlete and you're in the arena, then you want Tiger because you want the excitement, the adrenaline, and the fun. When you get paired with Tiger, so I don't know, let's say it was 5 times, that's 10 rounds on Thursday and Friday. I was paired with him on some weekends too, but like the Thursday and Friday thing is different because you're locked in for 2 days.
Yep.
So it's just like it's like the difference between a mini marathon and running a full marathon. If you're locked in on Thursday and Friday, you have to be ready. When you find out on Tuesday, you start mentally preparing so that you're ready for Thursday and Friday. So those 10 rounds, say it's 5 times on Thursdays and Friday, those 10 rounds, as I look back, were both some of the most difficult rounds that I played on tour, and they also were some of the absolute best rounds I played on tour.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've only seen Tiger play 2 or 3 times in person.
He's not that good.
Yeah. A couple times at the Memorial, which is my favorite tournament I've ever been to. Love going over there. Jack does it upright. And then when I went with my parents to watch you up at Warwick Hills in 05, Tiger actually he tied his career low that day, 61. And so I did want to see him play a little bit. So my mom and I ventured off. We had to get 3 holes ahead of the hole he was on just to get a decent spot. And it was a par 3. I got to see him hit the tee shot. That was pretty much it.
Yeah. You got to camp. Awful. You got to camp out, wait for him to come, and then try to survive the mass hysteria that is there for 3 minutes, and then it's gone.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
But who's the nicest guy, in your opinion, who's the nice guy on the PGA Tour?
Current or all time?
Either or. Let's do one current, one all time. Yeah, assuming they're not the same guy.
The 2 guys that there's probably like I have a Cameron Beckman is a very good friend of mine. Jerry Kelly is a very good friend of mine. Joey Sindelar was probably the nicest, and it's hard for me to say because Joe Durant, I don't know how anybody could be any nicer than Joe Durant. Joey Sindelar and Joe Durant, unbelievable. And Steve Stricker would be a close third.
He had a heck of a weekend. He did have
a pretty good for an old guy. He is an old guy. I'm not. He is an old guy.
He competed against you, right? In the Big Ten.
Oh yeah, he was 2 years
at Illinois.
2 years or 3 years. He won my freshman year. We were at Illinois for the Big Ten, and he won. He was 2 years older than me because he was a junior. He won that year, and then the last year, I think the Big Ten was at Wisconsin, his last year,
it's his home state.
He won there too.
It's interesting to me that he went to Illinois, but he's a Wisconsin fan.
Oh, it's
like,
unbelievable.
how does
Like
that work?
hardcore.
Yeah, they're conference rivals. How does
Yeah,
that work?
I mean, Jerry Kelly, he lives up there with him too, and Jerry is like this big Wisconsin fan.
Yeah.
He went to Hartford.
Yeah. Now I understand that a little more, but when you go to another school within the Big Ten,
Not only did he go to Illinois, but he was like a superstar at
he's
Illinois.
in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, superstar.
Yeah. So, who are some of your favorite guys to play with on tour, or who have been some of your favorite guys to play with?
Joe Durant was probably always my favorite guy to play with. We used to play every time we got paired. We played $100 no bogey. So
Wow.
So if you didn't make a bogey, the other guy owed you $100.
Yep.
And a funny story on that, we're playing at CVS one year, which it was still a CVS, still a tournament. And I ended up finishing third in the tournament. We're playing on Sunday, and I'm making a move through the field, and Joe's just kind of staying stagnant. And Joe makes a bogey on like the 7th or 8th hole, and so he's out. And it's just the two of us playing. We get to 18 par 5. I should be licking my chops. It's reachable. I make birdie. Who knows? I might win.
Yep. And
the only thing I was talking to him about the entire time, the only thing I was concerned about was not making a bogey because I wanted his $100. It's a true story. So I hit my drive and it just catches in the right piece of the rough. I chop it out into the fairway. I've got like a 100-yard shot and the pin's on the front left. And I kind of get a little steep, leave a little bit short, gets in the rough just short of the green. And now I missed the green. We're walking up the green. I said, I can't believe that I'm freaking going to make a bogey on this. And Joe is like, Smitty, what are you talking about? Like, chip this ball in and try to win the tournament. I said, oh no, I'm getting this thing up and down for your $100. And I chipped it up there close to Denver par and got a no bogey. But I always really, really looked forward to playing with him. He was very easy to play with. The majority of it as I got older, I enjoyed some of the, I started enjoying some of the younger kids, and I also started really not enjoying some of the younger kids.
Makes sense.
And so I have some really good. Jordan Spieth is one of the best. Like, I would encourage everybody to root for Jordan Spieth. Nice human being. So, you know, I probably, if I just had to pick one name, it'd probably be Joe Durant.
Okay. Good answer. Favorite tournament to play in?
British Open.
British.
Yeah, for sure.
Just hearing you talk about it, I could see the excitement in your face.
Best tournament. So. It's the best tournament in the world, best fans in the world, best golf courses in the world. It's the best tournament in the world.
It's a bummer they're not got fans again this year.
I know. It's
really
super sad. They are super educated,
yeah,
respectful, knowledgeable fans.
Favorite course?
North Berwick.
Okay.
In Scotland. Okay.
I like it. Most memorable shot. Was it the one you talked about earlier?
I have a couple of them. Probably. Okay. Like, it would be hard for me to not say the shot in the state high school on the par 5 over the tree and barn. I don't know. And the reality of this situation, probably the shot that meant the most to me and was the most memorable shot was probably the bunker shot on 17 at the Buick.
That's the one I thought after you said that earlier.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the one that I see on Twitter the most is your it's like a punch cut a few years ago. Memphis. Yeah. PGA likes to put that one on Twitter.
That's a nice shot.
It was.
Of course I missed the putt.
Yeah, but it was a heck of a shot.
That's in the vault.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they just tweeted that in 2020 sometime. Yeah, because I remember retweeting it from our account. Your favorite moment of one of your sports teams?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I know you're a big Buckeye fan, of course, but you're also a big diehard St. Louis Cardinal fan.
I am. My favorite moment of a sport team I've already alluded to, and that was when Rochester High School beat Tippecanoe Valley to win their first football sectional championship right here in Rochester, Indiana. And I will never forget that night. Loved that night. As far as I don't think when Ohio State won in 2002
against Miami,
against Miami, I was at the Tournament Champions on the beach in Maui. Not a bad, the Ritz-Carlton, not a bad place to watch it.
I would say so.
Yeah, the Buckeyes won in a phenomenal game that nobody gave them a chance in. Super highlight moment. I was sitting watching Chris Carpenter win the World Series in 2011, Game 1 and Game 7 winner. Super fun to see your friend doing it. I'd probably be between the 2011 World Series of the Cardinals and Rochester beating Tippecanoe Valley in the sectional championship.
That's going to make a lot of our listeners and viewers happy.
It's true. I remember that like it was just yesterday, and it was so great to take those Valley Vikings down.
But you're still a busy guy right now. I know you're planning to play try to play some tournaments this year.
I am. Yep. I hope so. I was playing on last year. The world is a strange place right now, and I hope that everything gets back to normal and the schedule gets back to normal, and I have a little bit of access because I would like to play this year.
But you do have some other things going on. I would say golf related.
I do.
You got the hat right there, Circle 15. Why don't you tell us about Circle 15 Golf?
So this was something that kind of came at me a couple years ago. We have a patent on the glove humidor there that you have in your hand. And it's a device to keep your gloves fresh and keep them from drying up. I spent about 13 months probably developing that golf glove. And I'm incredibly proud of the golf glove. And I think the golf club is unbelievable.
Yes, I've been a TaylorMade and Titleist golf glove loyalist my whole life, but not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. Nope. You're on the Circle 15 staff now.
Absolutely.
But it's been fun. We launched in November, and I have a good team that I'm working with. I would encourage everybody to go look at circle15golf.com. It's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm finally in a spot in my life where some dots connected the right way, and it became a reality, and we're working hard on it. We had a 3-hour phone call about it today because we're in the process of trying some new innovative things with the box, and it's been exciting. We have some new products that are going to be put on the website here in the next couple days. So it's been fun. I was an econ major at Ohio State, which, I mean, I don't know what that compares to being a Purdue graduate.
At Purdue, I was a public relations, so that's like the lowest on the totem pole at Purdue. So,
but I figured you can give me the argument that it's a better education overall, but I will fight you to the end. I will fight you to the end. But I always had in the back of my mind, I always had this idea that at some point when I'm done playing golf, I wanted to do something that was business, because my dad was always a business guy and I went to school for this business stuff. And it's kind of how my mind works. And I've tried to use all that with my traveling of 25 years of golf and hiring and firing employees and teachers and, all this stuff. So it's fun for me because I know that at this point I'm comfortable with, and I'm happy with where I'm at with my golf. And is there still that fire in me? Absolutely. Do I still have the ability? Yes. Do I still think that I'm going to pop off some good tournaments? Absolutely, I do. But it's also nice for me to be transitioning into something that, it's very difficult to get up every morning and know that you have to be the best in the world at something.
I can't imagine.
It's exhausting. And, you talk about Tiger and Phil. And I mean, I've spent the last 30 years, actually more than that, because I was playing college golf with Phil. I've spent the last 30 junior golf. I've spent the last 37 years getting up every morning, trying to be the best in the world at something. And there does come a time where it's just like, okay, I'm hyper competitive. And I will continue to need that competitive juice to flow. But there's a little part of me that is just kind of like, okay, I'm 51 at this point. I don't have to be the best anymore. I want to be as good as I can and see what that does, but I don't have to be the best anymore.
Well, it's exciting for me. I mean, right in your promo, it's for the everyday golfer, just like me. So
you're way better. Didn't you shoot a couple under par in the sectional or regional one time?
No.
Logan Sport Golf Club. Yes, you did.
Not in the sectional. It was my last 9-hole match in high school.
Yeah.
double bogeyed the first hole, and then shot 2 under.
Yeah.
Yeah. Went
Threw
4 under the next 8.
You threw some darts after
I did
that.
throw some darts
Yeah.
that day. That was
Threw
a fun
some
one.
darts.
My dad missed that one.
Oh, he wasn't there for that one?
So I faked going in. I forget why he missed, but when I walked in the house, I acted like I shot a 50.
Yeah.
I was all bummed out, and then I couldn't hide it.
I'm guessing your dad didn't miss very many of them.
No, he didn't. He
No,
didn't. So,
no.
and you got one more project I want to hit on real quick, and that's All Sorts of BS podcast.
Yeah, that's you talk about learning curve.
You ventured in the podcast world, my friend.
Yeah, we were just pulling in, and Elle started giggling, and I said, "What are you giggling at?" And she said, "Oh, I just read this thing." She said, this woman said, "Why is it that men think that women talk all the time, but yet every single one of them have a 45-minute podcast that nobody listens to?"
It's the truth. It's the truth.
And I said, "Oh, yeah, that's harsh." But I've enjoyed the podcast. I'm learning. It's a huge learning curve. As you know, you've been doing this a long time, and you are a professional.
I am not a pro. I appreciate the compliment.
I am not a professional, but it's just another way for me to exercise my mind, challenge myself a little bit, try to figure out something that's interesting. I think I have some interesting stories to tell. I think I have some interesting guests to bring on, and whether we end up with 40 listeners or we end up with 400,000 listeners, it doesn't really matter, because it's filling something inside of me that I'm enjoying doing, and something I get up on Tuesday mornings and put together everything I've thought about for the last 6 days and try to do something entertaining.
Yeah, and that's the most important part. As long as you enjoy it and you're pushing yourself, challenging yourself, learning. I'm involved with 5
professional
podcasts, and people are like, "Why?" Well, I do it because I enjoy it. I don't enjoy it, I won't do it. I'm not a professional by any means.
Professional.
But anything else you want to plug?
No,
or tell everybody.
I got nothing to plug. I appreciate you having me on.
How about your Instagram handle for everybody out there if they want to give you a follow on Instagram?
What am I?
I think it's at Smitty15.
I think it is Smitty15.
Yeah.
I think it's at Smitty15. But my Instagram, you know what? That's a good point. I'm trying really hard to get some followers at Instagram. Yes. I have really none.
We'll get it up.
Yeah.
Tan and J-Man Show Nation. We'll get it up there.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I would enjoy some followers on Instagram. Now, that's a whole nother thing. Like, some of that stuff's going to be interesting. Some of it might not, but I will try to entertain you on that, because I do run across some interesting things.
You do some good stuff.
That's a good call. Yep. That's probably why I don't have any followers. I don't tell anybody about it.
Promote it. Got to get used to promoting it.
Promote it.
Follow Chris on Instagram. Follow All Sorts of BS on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And follow Circle 15 Golf on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. So, Chris, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
It's a lot of fun.
Glad we got this thing done. And I'll put you to the test some week if Josh isn't available on a Monday and you are, I'll have you come up and fill in for him for an hour.
Yeah, that would be a challenge. I would enjoy it, but that would be a challenge.
We'll have to do that some week.
Anytime.
All right. Appreciate it, Chris.
You got it.